The year is 1868 in New Jersey, and in the new forefront of the Old West, starting in the New East, paleontology begins to take its foothold across the United States. Filled with heroic scientists pursuing grand interests across the world, adding to the breadth of scientific knowledge, and for some reason always wearing impeccable three-piece suits and in many cases full-length fur gowns. It is a pivotal time in American history that has since been known worldwide, forever enclosed, as the pleated rivalry between these two friends turned foes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. My name is Jimmy, and Dinosaurs will always be awesome. And we are here tonight with a very excellent presentation. We're celebrating a brand new musical presentation that'll be starting this summer in the Players Theater in Greenwich Village, New York. It's The Bone Wars, an incredible musical comedy, and we are very gifted and very happy to have with us here tonight the creators and the crew and the cast of The Bone Wars. Welcome, everybody. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
We are delighted to have with us here tonight the creative team behind Bone Wars, the musical, starting off with Samuel Neagley, the creator of Bone Wars. Good evening, Samuel. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Jimmy?
Oh, absolutely delighted. Thank you so much for being here. Samuel, we're going to meet you and the rest of your team here in just a moment, but I have to start off. There's one question that I ask of everybody that we get a chance to meet, and I don't want to wait. I'm going to go down the line here. Samuel Neagley, what's your favorite dinosaur?
You know, I've been thinking about it all day, and I want to throw in a vote for the Troodon. I want to, you know, this is a something that didn't really have a lot of popularity or maybe even discovery when I was a young child, and I was so enamored with raptors and the agile theropods of, you know, fantasy and stuff, and I can't help but love the Troodon for its potential to have like, you know, immense intelligence. And the storyteller in me is just like, I want to learn more about the, you know, who was the smartest of these dinosaurs? What kind of like maximum potential did they have in that capacity? So it's very intriguing to me on those grounds.
That's an excellent reason and a wonderful dinosaur. And I'm very happy to say that Troodon is actually back as well. It was gone for a little while. Don't call it a comeback. It's come back around again. Also joining us this evening, very delighted to have with us as well, we have Laura, who's the director of the musical. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Jimmy. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. Laura, same question for you. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Okay, so I have to be honest that I don't actually know very much about dinosaurs. I know more about the theater side of things, but
all right, that's a wrap on Laura. Thank you so much.
No, I did some digging. Yeah. And my current top contender for favorite dinosaur is the Fruitadens. I love how tiny they are. This is all according to the internet. This is not my own expertise at all, but they are apparently the smallest known ornithischian. They're only like 30 inches long and weigh less than 2 pounds. And apparently most of the ornithischians were herbivores, but because the Fruitadens were so small, they and plants take so long to digest and their stomachs were so small, they were probably omnivores and had to eat bugs. There's something so charming to me about a dinosaur that's that tiny. So they're my current favorite dinosaur.
It is an absolute slam dunk of a dinosaur. A wonderful choice, Laura. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Not to be outdone, we also have joining us, please welcome to our podcast stage, we have Dane Jouffre, production manager for Bone Wars the Musical. Welcome, Dane.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So you've heard the question they've been asking everybody so far. Dane is coming to you. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Mine has I thought about this a lot. It's very scientific. I love the Ankylosaurus because he looks the coolest to me. And that's kind of the entirety of it. Every time I look at him, he feels so... Also, I don't know why I'm calling him a he, but it feels
Many
so
of them were.
mythological. You know what I mean? The
Absolutely.
Ankylosaurus, for me, looks as close to a ground, almost like a draconic type of thing from the past. And I also just love the fact that he had a big old club on his tail. So for me, it's Ankylosaurus.
Triple word score for using draconic, by the way. Because
thanks.
I think the word iconic is thrown around so often, but draconic, we need to bring that one back. And I think Ankylosaurus is definitely the way to start doing that. Thank you so much, Dane.
Of course.
Also joining us this evening, we're not done yet. Please welcome, this is Clayton Smith. Hello, Clayton, a producer of our Bone
Hello.
Wars. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. So
What's your favorite dinosaur?
my favorite dinosaur. I've been waiting to say this one. I love the Argentinosaurus. I love a big sauropod, the big giant herbivores. Always a big fan. And a shout out to Sonorosaurus, which is the state dinosaur of my home state of Arizona.
A wonderful story bringing Sonorosaurus to the grand stage for becoming the state dinosaur. Have you seen how that actually happened?
Yes, we did a video on it to acknowledge state dinosaurs. That was the one we started with because my home state, it was, and I'm the head of social media. I pushed it to the front of the line. So
Excellent choice. Well, wonderful choices for dinosaurs all around. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you for being so candid about these incredible prehistoric creatures that we all have come to know and love. And it's that intrinsic thing that joined us all, because everybody has a dinosaur phase. Every single one of us has had a dinosaur phase. And at some point, like, it becomes so ingrained in us. How much of that has led us into the culmination of this story?
Well, the first step was a lot of free time. And I was just in a kind of dinosaur Wikipedia wormhole. I studied theater in my college years and stuff. So that's my area of expertise. But like you said, lifelong dinosaur fan. I was reading, every piece of Calvin and Hobbes I could get my hands on. I still got these little guys with me that you can see back here. And so I found myself...
I clocked those as soon as you got in here.
Yeah, good. They're clocking everybody else too. So I don't know. I was just doing some sort of like Wikipedia wormhole about some prehistoric discovery, and I saw a little link to the Bone Wars. And if I had studied paleontology, maybe I would have encountered that. But it was new information to me, and so I found myself just like overwhelmed and just like really kind of enticed by this story. And over time, I sort of thought to myself, like, this is so dramatic. It's so rich with just like sabotage, espionage, drama, gossip, all of these just like crazy ideals. And musical theater would be the most sort of apt medium to tell the highs and lows of Martian Cope's lives.
I think now is a perfect time, because we actually didn't mention what the story ultimately is about here. So it's a musical called The Bone Wars. The graphics on this are brilliant, but the idea behind this and the core of the story is a jury of dinosaurs looking over the feud between the famous paleontologist Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel C. Marsh.
Yes.
That's so wonderful. And so the idea behind this comes from that introspection and that study of the Bone Wars that you did. And then how does someone take an idea like this and then bring it to literally to a world stage?
COVID happened, and I'd been sitting on this idea forever. And that was a moment in 2020 where I was like, okay, now I really do have like, the time and space to commit myself to the research and the writing process. And so it took about 1.5 or 2 years to kind of flush out all the sort of early drafts of the script and all the music. And to the point of the judge and jury of dinosaurs, I didn't want to just do a sort of bio piece on Martian Cope. I kept thinking to myself, what's the point of doing this if there are not dinosaurs on stage, right? People are going to want to see it. I want to see that at the very least. There was no dinosaur musical for me to go see when I was a kid, so I'd like to bring that to the world. And so I used them as a kind of narrative framework where the ghosts and spirits of Martian Cope have sort of demanded a trial to settle their feud once and for all in the sort of cosmos that is. And so, lo and behold, a judge and jury of dinosaurs are to assess which of them is truly the better of the two, and the other must be sort of sentenced to cosmic oblivion.
That's such an incredible thing. I love that so much. That is so clever. And now, in the casting of this, you're also playing E.D. Cope, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So does that mean that we know how the story's going to end?
No, I won't give any spoilers.
No, absolutely not. I do like that you've grown out the mustache. It's very period specific, so this is wonderful.
Yeah, it's coming along.
You've also described the show as being mostly historically accurate. Now, there's a few things you've taken liberties with. What kind of things have we gotten kind of silly with?
Oh man, where do I start? It's funny because the guy who's playing Marsh, Dalton Maltz, my co-star, he's actually a history major, and so he has very much marshed me in a really real way. He was going through the script, and he was like, "This is not technically accurate right here." Like he's kind of like correcting my mistakes, and I was like, "Come on, man, we can't be this real with this." But yeah, so I think that the creative liberties are certain assumptions about their personal lives that work well in storytelling. You can never know the true ins and out of somebody's, maybe like personal life with regards to either their families or the sort of the highs and lows that they may have had. But I tried to be both respectful to the source material and also just tell a very human story, all while still having a sort of fantastical convention atop it.
So Laura, you're directing Bone Wars the musical, right?
Yes.
In my research, when I was looking around, I see that you and Samuel have actually worked together before in a few different things. Is that right?
We have. I've actually known Sam since college, more than 10 years ago now. And I think the first thing that I actually directed him in was my senior thesis in college. We did a play called Red that's about the painter Mark Rothko. Very different, but still historical in some ways. And we've been kind of collaborators ever since. I've helped with the tech for an original musical that he wrote a few years ago, a self-help guide to killing your boss, which was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been collaborators
as well at the
Time Biter as
Theater,
well.
yes.
Yeah. Most recently, Time Biter is what I directed him in.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So having that relationship, you guys have been able to work together for so long. You've learned how to support each other's strengths and how to play to the things that really make you shine on the stage, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam's very fun to work with, especially as an actor. He's obviously very bright. He wrote this entire musical himself, but it leads him to make very interesting choices on stage. So he's really fun to direct as a director.
So then how do you bring a jury of dinosaurs to a stage like this? How do you make that work theatrically?
So I'm looking at this jury of dinosaurs as kind of the outermost framing of the story. They're omnipresent. They're always watching. So we're creating a real judge stand and jury box, and we have a brilliant artist, Walking Legend Studios, who is creating these incredible dinosaur headpieces that our actors are going to be wearing.
So you are literally willing this entire process into existence. And now it's one of those things that it brings so much joy and it brings so much unique comedy and heart into the world. It's got to be a substantial undertaking altogether.
It is. We're looking at a cast of about 18, which is pretty large. With everyone involved in the production, we're easily going to top 30 or more people. It's really, theater is very collaborative, and having this many minds on the project. We've got some incredible designers. We're really excited. We're actually having callbacks this weekend, so we've got some really exciting talent that I'm really looking forward to seeing more of.
So Dane, as a production manager, what is your role in all this? How are you bringing the vision of Cope and Marsh, getting what's coming to them from these dinosaurs to the stage?
A lot of my work right now for pre-pro ends up being a lot of hiring. So I'm doing a lot of the researching for a lot of our crew, a lot of our leads on departments, connecting them with Laura and the rest of the team to make sure that they understand the vision that Laura has, as well as have a full understanding of what we're capable of doing within the space. It's not a huge space at Players Theater, but it is it has a wealth of what they call opportunity for us to get in there and do what we need to do. And when we get closer to load-in, that's when a lot of my work will also pick up a lot more, because we'll have to hire a couple more people to make sure all the gear gets in, make sure Scenic has everywhere to go, make sure that storage is set up for these very, 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 very cool headpieces need to be stored somewhere. So it's a lot of the logistical mind working to make sure that the creatives can do what they need to do and really run for it.
That's wonderful. I want to take a moment here because I know you said that you're working within a space that it cannot always be as forgiving in the sense of building the grand stretch out that we'd like to do, but the Players Theater actually has a really significant impact. It's got a great history in of itself, doesn't it? Are you drawing in from any of the, because the Greenwich Village, the theater scene, and some of these historic theaters that are there, they bring a lot of their own bones to the storytelling, don't they?
Yeah. And artistically, we're kind of leaning into a little bit of almost that sort of cabaret feel, like a little bit of an old timey for these flashback sequences, almost like they're a little play being put on for the dinosaurs. So it's a little bit campy, a little bit fun. We're right next to the Comedy Cellar. It feels like it's a really good home for the piece.
I agree with that. I think that also the house itself also feels like it could have been plucked out of the Gilded Age, to your point, Jimmy, where it just has that feel of an old off-Broadway theater where it's like you can shake the dust off as much as you can, but there are people who have really lived and performed in that space for years, and we're happy to be a part of it.
It's great that you mentioned that because Clayton is joining us back here again. The Bone Wars era between the 1870s and the 1890s, when all these wonderful things take place. I guess it'd be the prequel to what's happening here if it's in the afterlife. It aligns with the Gilded Age, right? It happens concurrently with all the things, and the Gilded Age is having quite a moment right now, isn't it? Is that part of what's driving this idea that, because there's such a focus on that early turn of the century and this window into the world of not that long ago, but still so far removed, it brings everything together.
No, I agree. I think the more I've been reading about the Gilded Age, the more I get the sense that they must have had a familiar feeling to what we feel now, that we're living through a period that will be historically significant, where the world is changing in these really great and great as in scope, not great as in necessarily good, but these enormous ways, and that we don't yet know what the impact will be. We don't know what the world will look like, 5, 10, 20 years from now, but we know it will be really significantly different. And I think there's a lot of that uncertainty and unease and anxiety, and also hope and possibility that was very present in the Gilded Age that I think a lot of us are feeling now.
There is something that we've mentioned, that between the Gilded Age and just the impact that we had on the environment and the Industrial Revolution and the growth in that. In scene 3, you pay very close attention to one of the things that during the Battle of the Bone Wars, there was such a race to get the bones out of the ground that no method was off the table, including dynamite. And you have an entire song dedicated to the idea of them using dynamite with each other. This
Absolutely,
is so
we
clever.
do.
So we've got, if I can share a little bit. Now, I haven't rehearsed, I haven't practiced this too much. I want to share this. Is it wrong to blast apart all these remains? Have I gone and lost my heart? Am I insane? I don't care. I do not care. I'd rather die than see one hair on Cope's hands touch my bones. Which I think you really captured the essence of Marsh. As the raving lunatic that he was.
And
this is brilliant.
that song's that's going to be a fun one once we get in there.
Your next stanza after that, the next verse here, as Cope, is, I think, also brilliant. Like everything I've read so far has been wonderful, but I love this. Do you want to give us the next part with the oh diddle dee?
Oh diddle dee, looky at me. I'm back in the desert, yes siree. Marsh is gonna leave me a nice big treat. I should have packed more salted meat. Darn it.
I think it's fantastic because no, absolutely, 100%. It gets its snaps and its claps all the way around. You're giving us the sense of just how wild and woolly the story is going to be, and it's so deeply rinsed in the actual history that happened. You see the vitriol that these two friends turned enemies had, and just the wild lengths at which they would go just to get the most bones out of the ground and to do everything they could. Your social media around this has also been really great. I've been seeing so many of the new videos. Clayton's been putting a lot of videos out about popular dinosaurs and learning about, like you mentioned, the state dinosaurs and things like that. How has that been stepping into the science communication world as well?
It's been interesting. It's I went with, I'll say this, like I love dinosaurs, very interested in them, right? So it's great to learn more about dinosaurs. But I am the farthest thing away from a scientist you could be. I'm a writer and comedian. There's no science being done there at all. And so, I digging through some of the research, some of the stuff, it's like, okay, how can I make this appealing in a way that's like connected, especially if like it's a state dinosaur, like how can you connect it to like a personality of a state or of a community, and kind of connect these beings throughout time on a shared land. But Sam was talking about the geobiology summit earlier. I went with him, and we sat in a room full of some of the smartest people I've ever been around, just incredibly smart scientists and like grad students, professors. And I try so hard to follow along with their presentations. By slide 3, I was completely lost. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick to the arts and kind of help support them that way.
They love to talk about this stuff, don't they? The hard part's getting them to stop. But so you've taken this around to the scientific community and to the various paleontologists and geologists who have a deep-seated opinion about these two guys here. How's the response been among the folks who will be seeing themselves up on the screen, on the stage?
So far, the response has been extremely positive. That particular event was one of the more encouraging experiences I've had, and we also just really want to thank the folks at Edelman Fossil Park for having us, because that was, and everybody should go check that place out. It's incredible. You can dig for your own fossils and then really enjoy the museum, which is so tasteful. And I think that one of the reasons it felt so sort of heartwarming to be there is we had a moment to connect with everybody at the end and sort of talk to them about the sort of higher calling that had been addressed at the beginning of the talks, not by myself, but by Ken, their creative director. And he was talking about the responsibility that scientists have with communicating to people in the outside of science, right? And sort of communicating to the public the dire needs of our times and so on. And one thing we wanted to emphasize is that, artists are here to help with that too, right? Like we all have the same kind of mission in a very big picture sense. And if our job is to hold up a sort of mirror to society, in this case, it's a funny mirror, so that there's distortion to it, but there is still room for observation and hopefully like curiosity and a kind of audience response that will help people either engage with history or paleontology, or even just sort of think about what we were talking about before with our exact position in history. So it was a really wonderful experience. And so far, the broader paleontological community has been just so welcoming, very, very surprisingly so, because as Clayton said, we are not scientists. Yeah,
but it's a story that deserves to be told. And speaking of that bridge between the science and the art, as a musical, you have to have these really compelling these lyrical themes, and that the music itself has to carry, and sometimes you just have to have a real bop in there that people are going to be humming as they walk out. You shared a clip from one of the songs that's in the musical here called "Femurs of Lemurs," and I'd like to share a little bit of this if I can, if that's all right, and I hope it's going to work, or it can just go away. We're going to cut. I'm just going to play it, and we'll add that thing after that. So if I'm watching this later, this is where I do that.
We have femurs of lemurs and spines of canines and a whole lot else that I've never seen. We have jaws and paws and claws to mon con on the prey of the past. What a pretty scene.
It was a lot of fun. I think the fun is just beginning with everything you guys are putting together here. This is going to be so cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Walking Legend Studios making your dinosaurs. I have been following that Triceratops build like religiously as they put that together.
It blew my mind.
It's
Such
so
a cool thing to see.
Mhm.
That was actually the piece that sort of drew us to Elliot. And he fortunately is a fan of the concept. He was like, "You're doing a bone work," like, because he knows, and so he was very really like met us where we were at in terms of like the particular level of development, and has gone above and beyond. And we haven't shared anything online yet, but we are going to soon, and it's gonna look. It looks so good. I'm so impressed with this stuff. And but it's actually, it represents the taxonomy war, a period of time where there was still relative communication between them, but they were so desperate to outname one another that they ended up naming the same things multiple times and creating a whole cloud of confusion as a result.
My friend over here who joins me from time to time, Ajax the baby Apatosaurus, is very well versed in that story. And likewise, there's another scientist that is a friend of mine who we've interviewed in the past, Dr. Emmanuel Chop. Have you had a chance to meet with him? He actually he lived in New York he worked at the Museum of Natural History for some time. Have you been able to collaborate with him or any other scientists in the regard?
No, we haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. No.
Oh, well, you should. He's the guy who brought Brontosaurus back.
Oh,
No way.
So he helped to sort out Marsh's whole enthusiastic clumping of naming the same thing twice. And Emmanuel was able to go through, and he did a 300-page dissertation. The whole study was massive, just looking at every single piece of something that we thought was either supposed to be, this is Apatosaurus, this is Brontosaurus, and here's what's different, and here's what's similar. And so we went from what was originally Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus are the same thing, to now saying, no, we've got 3 different types of Brontosaurus and 2 different types of Apatosaurus, and there's plenty to go around for everybody. So
it's something to celebrate, isn't it?
StreamYard's favorite dinosaur is the Apatosaurus. So with everything that's gone through and telling the story and learning more about these scientists, do you have a preference of which one you would rather have a cup of coffee with between Cope or Marsh?
Good question.
Anyone else want to take that one before I do? I feel like I'm biased. I'm playing Cope, It shouldn't come from me.
Yeah.
I think Marsh.
Yeah.
Why?
I rather to have coffee with. I think because he's at least in the script he reads a little bit meaner and more judgmental, and I think that's a fun person to have coffee with.
Yeah.
Talk about everybody else, all the mistakes they've made, everything they got wrong.
Sure.
How you're smarter than them,
Sure. I think I'd have a coffee with Cope. As a fellow married person, I think that it'd just be really easy to have conversation. You know what I mean? Getting drinks, yes, Marsh, all the way. I don't think a coffee specifically, a good mid-afternoon coffee.
I think I'm gonna go with Cope as well. He was a bit of a bon vivant. I like that kind of personality. It'd be fun. I'd grab a drink with Cope too. I'd feel like we'd argue over a few things. That might be fun. I'd probably disagree with him on a lot. So, go with Cope.
Yeah, it depends on. I think it depends on the strategy here. If we're just talking like a conversation, I would probably want to hang out with Cope. But Marsh was very good at networking. He'd be a worthwhile person to sit down with and talk to. He had a way of just kind of like climbing the social ladder, and he had a reputation for being a very gruff person. But the more you dig into it, the more you realize that that's something that kind of caught up with him later in life. He was also quite famous, surprisingly famous by the standards of our time to then. And so, he had those Peabody connections. He had his, positions in the government. So maybe I'd take a coffee with him just to sort of, I don't know, see if he's interested in investing in a musical.
Well, I apologize. The correct answer was Thomas Huxley, who said that dinosaurs were birds from the beginning, and is now looking back. I told you so. But all your answers are pretty good too.
You'll be happy to know that Thomas Huxley makes a couple appearances in the show.
Oh, fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
In addition, because you mentioned that Cope has had such great connections and so many different things that he's able to do, have you seen what Cope's been up to lately? So there's a story from a couple of years ago where current famous paleontologist Dr. Robert Bacher is in possession of the skull of Edward Drinker Cope. And there was a campaign to try and do something very special with this particular skull. So are you aware of when we name a new species of something, whether it's a Tyrannosaurus or the Apatosaurus, Triceratops, whatever dinosaur you name, you have to find one specimen by which everything else can be measured. We call it the holotype. And if you don't have a holotype of that particular species, then you have no idea what to really compare it to. And so humans, in our grand quest to unlock the mysteries of nature, have named and just about described just about everything else, except for one critical thing. There is no holotype for Homo sapiens.
Oh.
There is no one end-all be-all human by which we should all be compared. And then Robert Bacher a few years ago said, but what if there was? And what if it's currently on my mantelpiece in a small box? And so the push was to turn the skull of Edward Drinker Cope into the holotype for all human beings.
That's amazing.
Wild.
I knew that they had his remains and his skeleton, and it had that it was decorated for holidays for several decades
Like a
and stuff, but I did
Portuguese.
not know about this. Yeah. I did not know about this. So first of
didn't
all,
actually
we're
happen
changing the name of the
ultimately,
show.
Oh,
We're
yeah, there you
changing the
go.
name of the show to Pleaded Rivalry, and we're putting this part of the show too. These are the two things we've learned from our conversation tonight.
Even though I've suggested multiple times that Marsh and Cope should kiss in the show, and that note has not been taken. So
True.
I don't know.
True.
Yeah,
You're the
fingers
director.
crossed.
You just do that.
Just do it.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think we've reached a pretty good point for everything to kind of showcase more. So the production is, we're doing callbacks. We're getting ready to bring in your stellar cast. You already have wonderful components already. The theater is ready. The props, the costumes, the amazing set pieces. When can people finally see this vision realized on the player's stage?
I'll do it.
So-
Go ahead, Laura. Go ahead. Go ahead, Laura.
We have our first public performance on June 18th, and we run through the end of July every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday matinees, except for we are off the week of 4th of July.
That's spectacular. And where can people find out more about Bone Wars, the musical?
Yeah, at Bone Wars, they can find out more at bonewarsthemusical.com or following us at Bone Wars the Musical on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube.
Spectacular. And so as we bring it to a close, is there any last message you want people to know about the show before we go through it? We'll go around the order, because I realized just now I just said out to general to 4 separate people, and everyone's like, who do I go next? So Dane, any last messages you want to share with the audience before we bring everything together? What should people look forward to as we get into the Bone Wars?
I think the main thing that people should be excited for are literally, this is going to be a cop-out, but the dinosaurs themselves. I think that we're going to have amazing bone pieces. If I may, I do a lot of 3D printing in my day-to-day life when I'm not doing this. So I've been printing a bunch of bones for this production, for all of these dig site scenes. If I may,
the show and tell portion of the show.
Yeah. This is a big old femur printed at a
Hey.
This is from MakerBot's T-Rex model that they have that can be assembled. I could print a T-Rex if I wanted to, but the actual prop pieces as well as those head pieces, I think, are going to elevate this show, and I'm really excited for people to see it, to see dinosaurs on stage in a different light, in a very fun and inviting light. That's what I would think.
That's terrific. Seeing 3D printed dinosaurs is something I can always get behind. I think it's always a wonderful way to bring things together, for sure.
Let's go.
Clayton, what message do you want people to take away from this? What do you want people to look forward to and to feel when the show is done?
I would love to feel a connection with the past, with the history of paleontology, and with these two characters, and see a bit of themselves and their humanity in it, and to take away, honestly, just how insanely talented everyone involved in the production is. I mean, we're very lucky to have such an amazing team that I think people are just going to be blown away by it. And it's a dinosaur musical. It doesn't get cooler than that.
I agree 100%. Nothing gets cooler than a dinosaur musical, for sure.
A lot of laughter. It's a very funny show. I think what first drew us to the story in a big way is just how absurd this feud becomes by the end. And then at the same time, this understanding of, like, from this pettiness and this obsession and hatred that they had, they made some really extraordinary discoveries and did a lot of incredible work to further paleontology. So there is a lot, as Clay was saying, about just kind of the complexity and the depth and the contradictions inherent in being human. I think I hope people leave the show thinking about.
All right, Samuel, bring it home. What do you hope that people come away with after they've seen your vision revealed on the stage?
I hope that they feel excited to have been a part of something new. You know, if you're in the performing arts, something you're going to hear a lot is this sort of fatigue of, like, endless intellectual property or sequels and all these things, or the fear of maybe AI encroaching on creative spaces. And there's a lot of anxiety in the performing arts and in film and television and theater. And I think it's never been more important than it is right now to double down on new ideas and to fund them independently, to start with whatever you need to just get there and push a new idea forward. And in our particular case, we're really lucky that this is a new idea, but it's an old story, right? And there's actually a lot of people that are already familiar with it. And so we're starting with something of a fan base that's already been supporting us online and that feels locked into it. And so, yeah, I just want everybody to know that it's worth making new things. You should do it too. And at the very least, it's extremely fun.
Well, I want to thank you all so very much for taking the time to speak with us here today and to share your vision and the goals. And just, there's so much energy. I feel it. You feel that? Do you feel the excitement for this presentation and everything that's coming together? I cannot wait to see it when it's coming along. And I hope that you're following along as well. Check out bonewarsthemusical.com and follow them on all the social media platforms that you see linked down here below. And I can't wait to see you there in the theaters.
Thank
you.
you.
So much very much.
It's been a lot of fun.
And from all of us here, remember, it doesn't matter what you do, where you're from, or how old you are, because dinosaurs shall always be awesome.
We have femurs of lemurs and spines of canines and a whole lot else that I've never seen. We have jaws and paws and claws to maw and caw and gnaw on the prey of the past. What a pretty scene!
It's a dinosaur musical. It doesn't get cooler than that.